Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I'll be giving you guys a very important head coaching update for the Washington Commanders. Who is favored to be the Commanders head coach? When are they going to interview all these final candidates? And when will they finalize a deal with someone? So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and that notification bell as well. And stay tuned for the whole video because there are some very important updates. Alright, so hopefully you guys had a great weekend. There were some good football games on yesterday. At least one game was good. The other game was good up until, the end of the game there with the Chiefs winning and the San Francisco 49ers winning as well. And, a lot of people were rooting for the other teams, but at least for the Commanders, this will help them in terms of their head coaching search coming to an end quicker because both of their perceived top candidates we're still in the playoffs with, Mike McDonald from the Ravens and Ben Johnson with the Lions. And they also had other candidates like Aaron Glenn, the Lions defensive coordinator, and Anthony Weaver, one of the Ravens, I think he's D-line coach or some assistant coach. He also, they were both still, all four of them were still in there. So now all of the Washington Commanders candidates have been eliminated from playoff contention and they can be hired. So Ben Johnson, he's going to get interviewed this week again. Mike McDonald is scheduled to meet Monday night, so today, with Commanders owner Josh Harris. And there's been some weird reports. There's been a lot of reports saying it's, Ben Johnson's going to be the head coach of the Commanders at like 100%. And there's been like one, maybe two people, including Adam Schefter, that are like, let's, not so fast. Let's be a little bit patient here. But that's just kind of what we've been hearing right now. So let's go into who's going to be interviewed. So Anthony Weaver and Mike McDonald will be, interviewed today. Dan Quinn, I believe, in Washington will be interviewed. Aaron Glenn and then Ben Johnson on Tuesday, and that will be in Detroit, I believe. I guess that's what Ben Stanek here is saying. And then Bobby Sloak and Bieniemy have already been interviewed. Some guys I think we can eliminate. They're not going to get the job. I don't think Dan Quinn's getting the job. I know they said he's like kind of a top guy, but if you thought, you already interviewed him twice. If you thought he was going to be the guy, you wouldn't have waited this long to see, if Ben Johnson them would get eliminated. You would have just hired Dan Quinn a week ago. So I don't think that, Dan Quinn is going to be the guy. And again, Aaron Glenn, Anthony Weaver. I really think it's between Ben Johnson and Mike McDonald. I really do. Maybe an outside shot of Bobby Sloak. I could see that as a possibility, but I really do think it's still going to be Ben Johnson as the number one guy, and then maybe Mike McDonald if either Ben Johnson chooses Seattle because they still have a job opening and maybe they're trying to push for Ben Johnson and see if they can get him because these are probably the two best openings right now. Of this cycle were the Commanders and Seahawks, and they could just be waiting to see who gets Ben Johnson, and the other one will just get their number two candidate for the Seahawks. That would probably be Dan Quinn, and for us, it would probably be Mike McDonald. That's kind of my thoughts in it. I also saw I saw a tweet saying that Dan Quinn was in Mobile, Alabama. I think I'm pronouncing that right, for the Senior Bowl with Dallas Cowboys gear on. So, I guess that's not, if that's true, that's not saying a ton, but still, if I don't think he's going to be the coach here, I would be pretty the case. But let's go into some reports and some rumors right here. So this shout out to Mason Kinahan, hopefully pronouncing that right. So many, I'm terrible with last names and names in general, but this was a report from Tony Pauline, who is he's a pretty reputable reporter. He's got around 43,000 followers. Has broken some Commanders news before, or Redskins, Washington football team news in the past. He said the consensus at Shrine Bowl practices is something that's been buzzing in the media a few days now. Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson will be named head coach of the Washington Commanders once his run with the Lions is completed. And then he went a little bit, more in depth, but that's the main part, saying that it's going to be, Ben Johnson as the guy. And there are some other reports saying, other things, and this one right here is not one of them. So Peter King says the coaching agent industry is sold that Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson will get the Commanders job. Here's a full quote. He said it's sold that Detroit's offensive coordinator Ben Johnson will get the Commanders job. Along with drafting a quarterback at number 2 overall, or somewhere if new GM Adam Peters trades out of 2. Washington owner Josh Harris seems likely to bury the Dan Snyder era once and for all. And that's, again, none of this stuff is surprising. If I had to guess when we get these guys named, let's see. They said Tuesday is going to be these guys are here, Dan Quinn, Aaron Glenn, and Ben Johnson. So I would say you probably will get a decision Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and then regardless, the earliest the press conference would be like Wednesday midday or Wednesday around lunchtime or morning, something like that. That's probably when they would do it. And it's almost 100% going to happen this week. I would probably bet on the next few days. Probably not today. Probably not tomorrow, just because they do have to interview with these guys. And even though they probably know who they want, they've already interviewed all these guys once, at least virtually. They still want to go through the whole process before, officially saying a guy. And then they'll probably have their decision made Tuesday night and announce it Wednesday morning or so, or Wednesday midday, and have a press conference that day or the next day, something like that. That's kind of my guess on the situation there. And my guess in terms of what their top candidates are: Ben Johnson 1, Mike Macdonald probably number 2, and number 3, I really don't know. Maybe Dan Quinn or Bobby Slowick. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure who would be their number 3, but I'm pretty confident in who their top 2 are. But real quick, a word from today's sponsor. And a huge shout out to BetUS for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you guys check them out. First link in the description, and you get a 125% first time deposit match up to $2,500. So make sure you guys check them out. They're giving away Super Bowl tickets, one to you and a friend/family member. So you guys can go ahead and enter that giveaway. There's a bunch of different things that you can bet on. Obviously, the Super Bowl coming up in a couple weeks, but you got some college basketball tonight. Got my Hokies playing against the Blue Devils. Hopefully the Hokies win that one, but it's going to be tough. You got some NBA basketball tonight. You got some Premier League tomorrow, and hockey, a bunch of stuff in the next few days and weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. So make sure you guys check them out. And as usual, bet responsibly. Again, a huge shout out to BetUS for sponsoring today's video and sponsoring the entire 2023 to 2024 NFL season for me. It's been huge, and I really appreciate them. So make sure you guys check them out. Show them some love. It helps me out a ton as well. But back to the video. There's been some, most of the reports have been saying we're going to get Ben Johnson. But there's been a couple of people saying that might not happen. And one of those guys is Adam Schefter, who obviously is a big-time reporter, if not the biggest. It's him and Ian Rappaport. I think he has more followers. I like Ian Rappaport more personally, but Adam Schefter does have a lot of sources. And he said he may get that job. He very well may. He's in contention, but that is not a slam dunk at all right now. So he's basically saying it's not a done deal. And, maybe that's what Josh Harris is telling him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's close to Josh Harris. And Josh Harris is like, you know what? He's not liking that all these reports are saying they're getting Ben Johnson, even though he probably will. He might be like, or even though we probably will hire him, he probably doesn't want it to be leaked. So maybe he's telling Adam, like, okay, you know what? We haven't decided who's going to be our head coach yet. We're still interviewing, and he wants these candidates to feel respected. That's kind of my feeling on it, because these guys, all these reporters are getting sources from somewhere, and, probably he's getting sources from inside saying, I don't know, or other coaches as well that aren't Ben Johnson saying that they still might get the job. I don't know. I still think it's going to be Ben Johnson. Would I be absolutely shocked if it's not? No, because these things can change in an instant. Maybe the Seahawks offer him a lot of money or offer him more power, because I don't think he's going to get, if he comes here, I don't think he's going to get as much personnel power as in some other spots, like maybe Carolina. And maybe he doesn't want that. He probably wants a little bit, but we want Adam Peters to be that guy, but also to work in sync with whoever our next head coach is, and Ben Johnson would be great. But I'm also happy with Mike Macdonald. If it's Mike Macdonald or Ben Johnson, I will be very happy. Mike Macdonald did a great job this year, the year before, and with Michigan, and then his time before, with Baltimore before as well. They held the Chiefs to what? I don't know what they held. I forgot exactly what the score was, but it was a relatively good performance by the defense yesterday. It was the offense that really sold. I think it was like 24 points or 17 points. Yeah, they allowed 17 points to Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, it was an unfortunate game for them, but it wasn't the defense's fault as to why they lost that game. It was not the defense's fault at all. They did a good job, and he did a lot of good things this year. He shut down Ben Johnson and the Lions. He shut down C.J. Stroud and the Texans twice. He shut down the 49ers, the Dolphins, and I might be missing one or two other, big-time offenses, but he's done a very, very good job this year. So I would be happy with him as well. But Ben Johnson, my number one guy, did well yesterday. A couple not amazing plays, but, the offense scored what? I think it was 27, 30 points yesterday, and there was a few drop passes from the Lions offensive players. What are these? Let's see. They scored, it was 31 points. They scored 31, and they could have had 2 more field goals that they just didn't take, and they went for it. So that would have been 37 points. They still might have lost depending on what the 49ers did in those other situations. But still, the offense was good, and it could have been better if these guys weren't dropping passes and stuff like that. But I think that's it for today's video. I'm going to keep you guys updated on what happens with the Commander search. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.